The diet of the ancient Spartans was one of the most effective in history. It helped them build strength, it helped them stay lean, and it helped fuel them not just through battle, but through Olympic championship after Olympic championship. So when you see a diet like that, you have to wonder, what's going on here? What were they eating? What were they doing that worked so well? So let's dive into that real quick. For starters, the Spartans ate differently than any of the other ancient Greeks. So that in itself is very telling. They came actually from a more ancient lineage that had kind of been in that area. Even before the rest of the Greeks got there, they spoke their own language, they lived separately, they had all of their own traditions and habits. One of which was they only ate 2 meals a day. The rest of ancient Greece tended to eat 4 meals per day, but the Spartans only 2. Additionally, they would, instead of relying on wheat, which was considered a sumptuous, very filling and tasty food for the wealthy and the elite, the Spartans chose to eat barley instead. Barley was seen as the food of slaves and peasants, and generally less desirable. People didn't like the taste of it as much, and the Spartans knew what modern nutritionists know today, that barley is an extremely nutrient-dense food. It is an excellent carb source, and to this day comes with a lot fewer complications than wheat in terms of stomach distress, in terms of pollutants and pesticides and genetic modifications and all these things that create a lot of issues with wheat, modern wheat today. So the Spartans were big on barley. It was their prime carbohydrate source. They also ate a lot of dried fruit, though this was still pretty common throughout ancient Greece. The Spartans definitely had fruit as a big part of their diet. One area that was very different from the rest of ancient Greece, however, was that the ancient Spartans did not tend to eat as much domesticated meat. Your lamb, your goat, your beef. It's not that they wouldn't eat it, but they really had a preference for game meat, wild game meat. It was leaner, it was wilder, it was packed with nutrients, and you had to go out into the mountains to survive, to track and kill to get it. So the Spartans were big hunters. This gets skipped over in a lot of the history and the content surrounding them. They were big hunters, and it was a big part of a man's life and a young man's rite of passage to be able to go out with a spear or an arrow and come back with actual meat to eat, to provide for his brothers, for his family, for his children. And so the Spartans put a big emphasis on game meat. They thought that it was superior to domesticated meat, and they used it a lot. Another thing that the Spartans did that the other ancient Greek people found disgusting was something called black soup. Now, black soup was essentially, I'm not recommending it, but if you wanted to make it at home today, you could, by simply mixing blood. The Spartans used pig's blood with vinegar and little bits of like scraps of meat. And that was it. No seasonings, no flavorings, maybe a little bit of salt, maybe, but it was essentially blood and vinegar. And then they cooked it and they boiled it into like a black, thick, inky broth. And visitors, anyone who visited Sparta, as rare as visitors were, anyone who went, they all said the same thing. That stuff is gross, keep it away from me. But the Spartans themselves thought that it was a superfood, and they ate it religiously. Another thing that you could do today that is far less gross is drink the secret super tea of the Spartans. Now, they had something called Greek mountain tea, or at least that's what we call it today, that grew only in the area around Sparta. It was a very powerful anti-inflammatory and immune-boosting herb that the Spartans drank religiously. They also believed that it accelerated recovery. So this was something that they drank on a daily basis, and that you really don't hear too much about today. But I personally drink it. It tastes delightful, it's light, woodsy. Adding a little citrus to it is just great. And it's actually available on Amazon, or pretty much wherever they have exotic herbal teas. Now, we don't know for sure that the Spartans drank whey, but we do know that the ancient Greeks in general were big fans of whey, going all the way back to Hippocrates, who recommended it for healing in his patients. And it was obvious that him and other ancient Greek philosophers and physicians understood the value of whey. Now, obviously today it is the most common source of protein powder on the planet. So the fact that it dates all the way back to ancient Greece and that they understood the benefits of it was very notable if you are interested in fitness or in health. So again, we don't know, like we don't have text from ancient Sparta saying directly that they used whey protein, but it was pretty common throughout Greece. And so it would have been relatively surprising if the Spartans weren't at least aware of it, if not using it, particularly in the later years as they started to mix more with the ancient Greek world at large. So if you want to eat more like an ancient Spartan, give some of these things a try. You got Greek mountain tea. You have 2 meals a day. You have, if you're feeling courageous, blood and vinegar soup, the black soup of the Spartans. Or you could just check out my school community if you want to learn more stuff like this and talk about this stuff, as well as get access to free workouts, historical ancient training programs, and all sorts of cool stuff, including meals and food plans. Go ahead, I will link that below. But me and my coaches, everyone else who joined, I will link that below, and you can come hang out with me, my coaches, and all of the other members of the Wild Hunt Squad, and we'll see you there. But if not, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.